Hi, it's Anna here. Welcome back to my channel, the best place for parents or educators who want to learn and evolve with their children. Today, I will be discussing the Gentle Discipline book by Sarah Ockwell Smith, which is a book that helps us understand why children misbehave, why common discipline methods don't work, and how to respond in a way that is both effective in the long term and gentle. This book was requested by one of you over on my Instagram account, and I hadn't heard of this book or the author, and I absolutely loved it. It is so well written, very well structured, easy to digest and understand, and I resonated so much with what the author explained in the book. In fact, I've loved it so much that I actually want to read her other books as well now. First, we will define what the author means by gentle discipline. Then we will look at 4 steps that the author recommends we take to foster a thriving relationship with our child. And then we will look at a framework for dealing with difficult situations. So let's start with defining gentle discipline. Gentle discipline is focused upon teaching and learning rather than punishing, and having expectations for children's behavior that are realistic given their level of brain development. It is also about mutual respect and working with children, not against them. There is a balance of power. It is not held solely by parents. It is about having humility and patience, being mindful of your own triggers and demons as a parent, and not subconsciously projecting your issues onto your child. There are so many ways to describe the same thing these days that it can be very confusing. But basically, gentle discipline is the same thing that others describe as positive discipline or respectful discipline. It all fits into the category of authoritative parenting style, which has been proven to be the style with the best outcomes for children. And if you haven't done so already, I highly recommend that you watch this video where I go into detail about all 4 parenting styles. So in a nutshell, you are not just punishing or being permissive, you are still disciplining your children, but not for the purpose of making your life easier in the short term. It's a long-term approach to discipline where you are focusing on growing your child into the person you would like them to be. And because of this balance of power, the author believes that both parents and children interchangeably hold the roles of the teacher and the student. And I so agree with that. Children can definitely be our teachers. They teach us just as much, if not more, than we teach them. And in order to thrive in this balanced teacher-student relationship, it really does help to understand what makes a good teacher and what makes a good student. So what makes a good teacher? Good teachers are inspiring, knowledgeable, patient, firm, and kind. And probably the most important traits of all, they are always learning and adaptable. And a good student is usually motivated, tenacious, determined, focused, resourceful, and resilient. And the funny thing is that our children need these traits to succeed in life. But we parents tend to view these exact same traits as undesirable and difficult in day-to-day life. So it really does help to reframe how we view their behavior and accept that some of the things that we struggle with now as parents will likely turn into amazing traits when they are older. So now that we are in the shoes of the teacher, there are 4 steps that we can take to ensure that the teacher-student relationship is a thriving one. And the first step is that we need to become knowledgeable in our subject, aka our children. And that means that we need to become mindful of the abilities of our children by getting an understanding of what is developmentally appropriate for their age. Adults have the ability and social filters to regulate their emotions and their behavior in a way that children cannot. And this exact brain immaturity in our children is exactly what we parents struggle with the most. We already discussed the neuroscience behind a child's brain in this video and this video, and this is exactly why so many mainstream discipline methods are ineffective, because they require a level of understanding and thought that is so unusual in young children. The second step is that we need to foster the optimal environment for learning. So what does that look like? It needs to be calm, inspiring, supportive, where we foster a growth mindset, where mistakes are okay and actually encouraged because that's how we learn. And that includes understanding our children's learning style and experiential schemas, so we can be more efficient in our teaching. And I've already discussed this in detail when I did this video and this video, if you want to take a look. The third step is that we need to be a good role model. And whatever we want for our child, we also need to be able to apply it to ourselves. The biggest point is that we need to have a growth mindset when it comes to parenting, where we are okay to make mistakes and understanding that it is also how we learn. Which brings me to the fourth step, which is about taking care of our own needs, which is a crucial, important piece of the gentle discipline puzzle. The author actually believes in a 70-30 approach, where you can be your best self as a parent 70% of the time, and it's okay if you fail and make mistakes the remaining 30% of the time. And this resonated so well with me because when I did this video, I actually mentioned that I believe in the 80-20 rule on this, where it's okay if 20% of the time I fail. I just pick myself back up and I try again tomorrow. It's so important to realize that we are human, not robots, and we will never be able to be perfect all of the time. It's just impossible. So the sooner we accept that we will fail sometimes, whether it's 20% of the time or 30% of the time, the quicker we can move past that and just focus on what we are doing right, because we are doing so much right. Now let's move on to a specific framework that the author suggests for dealing with specific issues. The last few chapters of the book actually really deep dive into specific issues and scenarios that you encounter with your kids, whether it's sibling fighting, dealing with really violent behavior, dealing with rudeness or backchat. It goes into a lot of detail, and she actually provides excerpts of email exchange that she had with parents where they ask a specific question on a specific scenario and she answers it. So I don't have time to go into all that detail. It's very juicy, it's very interesting, but I will just discuss the framework that she recommends. And the framework uses the acronym PETER, P-E-T-E-R. So P is for pause. Don't react immediately. The author encourages us to pause and breathe and create some kind of space between our child's behavior and our response to think about how we actually want to deliver the discipline. And this is such a difficult thing to master. Personally, I'm still working on it, but practice makes perfect. The more you do it, the easier it will come. And the ultimate benefit is that by creating this space, you become more conscious, more mindful of what you actually want to achieve and the lesson you want to teach your child. E stands for empathize, trying to understand our child's point of view, how they were feeling at that time. It helps to understand that behavior is communication. So whenever a bad behavior occurs, we need to understand what was the trigger behind that behavior. The author says that the biggest mistake that we make as parents is to try to fix things. But the most important piece of the process is to actually understand why. Why is your child behaving that way? Because once you understand why, then you are able to guide your child much more efficiently. And this is why there is no one-size-fits-all to parenting, because each behavior will have a different trigger depending on the child and depending on the time of the day. Life is difficult and we all act out sometimes. And the problem is that we often expect our kids to behave a lot better than we adults are able to do ourselves. So it really does help to understand and really accept that we all have our bad days. And the sooner we accept that from our children, the easier it will be for everyone. T is for think. Think about the different ways you could respond and the learning that could happen as a result. E is for exhale, taking a deep breath in and out, relaxing our shoulders and picturing our anger leaving our body. And R is respond. After you've done P, E, T, and E, then you respond, not before. This is when you say, I will not let you do that. You still hold the boundary, but you sit with them and you support them through it, whatever their reaction is. And once they are calm, this is now the time to explain why what they did was wrong and brainstorm some ideas on how they could behave better next time. And it's important to understand that the long-term goal here is to actually help them manage their own emotions. So we are not trying to extinguish the anger. Anger is not the problem. We are trying to teach them how to control their anger in healthy ways that don't harm themselves or others. That's it for today. I hope you've enjoyed this video. Please leave me a like if you have, and please leave me a comment and introduce yourself or let me know about experiences that you've had or questions that you have. I always answer all comments. Thanks for watching and keep growing.